Have you ever felt like your partner is emotionally distant, struggles with commitment, or seems hyper-independent? If so, they might have an avoidant or dismissive attachment style. You see this all the time, folks. People coming on the show saying they feel like their partner's a million miles away, emotionally checked out. It's heartbreaking, and it's more common than you think. In today's video, we'll explore 7 common traits of avoidant partners and what they mean for your relationship. We're going to dig deep, folks, get to the root of these behaviors and give you some tools to navigate these tricky waters. Remember, knowledge is power. Understanding these patterns is the first step to figuring out if this relationship is right for you and what you can do to build healthier connections, whether it's with an avoidant partner or someone else. So let's get started. First things first, let's talk about emotional investment. Now, a partner with an avoidant attachment style often seems less invested in the relationship. They might hold back, not really open up about their feelings. You try to get close, but they always seem to keep you at arm's length. They may not take the initiative to plan dates, start conversations about the future, or share their inner world with you. It's like they're emotionally reserved, almost afraid to let their guard down. This lack of involvement can leave you feeling like they're not truly there for you, like you're in this relationship alone. You start to question their commitment, their care. You wonder if they even love you the way you love them. And that, my friend, is a painful place to be. But here's the thing. Their emotional detachment isn't always a sign they don't care. It's often a defense mechanism, a way to protect themselves from getting hurt. See, people with avoidant attachment styles often have a deep-seated fear of intimacy. They equate closeness with pain, vulnerability with the risk of being hurt, so they keep their emotions in check, trying to maintain control and protect themselves from potential heartbreak. They build walls around their heart, and sometimes those walls are so high it's hard for anyone to climb over. Next up, we got to talk about commitment issues. This is a big one, folks, and it goes hand in hand with emotional detachment. You see, for someone with an avoidant attachment style, commitment can feel like a trap. It's like they're terrified of being tied down, of losing their freedom and independence. They might say they want a relationship, but when things start to get serious, they pull back, get scared, and start looking for an escape route. Now, this fear of commitment isn't about you. It's about the emotional walls they've built to protect themselves. They've been hurt before, maybe even early on in life, and they've learned to associate intimacy with pain. So they keep their distance, avoid getting too close, because in their mind, that's the only way to stay safe. They'd rather be alone than risk going through that kind of hurt again, and that's understandable to a point. But the thing is, real intimacy, real love, requires vulnerability. It requires letting someone in, letting them see your flaws and imperfections, and trusting that they'll still love you, flaws and all. Let's talk about conflict avoidance. Now, this is another big red flag when it comes to avoidant attachment. You see, these folks, they'll do anything to avoid a confrontation. They'd rather walk on eggshells than address an issue head-on. And it's not because they don't care, it's because conflict for them is like stepping into a boxing ring with their deepest fears. They see it as a threat, a sign that the relationship is on shaky ground, so they shut down, clam up, or change the subject. They might even dismiss your concerns, minimize your feelings, just to avoid dealing with their own emotional turmoil. And that, my friend, can be incredibly frustrating for the other person in the relationship. It's like talking to a brick wall. You try to communicate, to work through an issue, but they're not there. They've already checked out emotionally, retreated into themselves. And what's worse, sometimes they might even instigate fights over small, insignificant things. It seems counterintuitive, right? But it's a way for them to create distance when the relationship feels like it's getting too close for comfort. These fights often seem to appear out of the blue, especially after a period of smooth sailing in the relationship. It's like they need to stir the pot, create some chaos just to feel safe again. Now let's talk about hyperindependence. This is a hallmark of the avoidant attachment style. These folks, they pride themselves on being self-sufficient, on not needing anyone. They might say things like, "I've got this," or "I don't need your help." And on the surface, it might seem admirable. Who doesn't love a strong, independent person? But here's the catch. Their need for independence is often rooted in a deep discomfort with vulnerability. They equate relying on others with weakness, with the risk of being hurt. So they build walls, create distance, and convince themselves that they're better off alone. They might ask for a lot of space, feel uneasy with daily communication or frequent meetings. They might even withdraw from social events or family gatherings, preferring to spend their time alone or with a small, select group of people. And this isn't a reflection of their feelings for you, but rather a coping mechanism to maintain emotional safety. They're not trying to push you away intentionally, they're trying to protect themselves from getting hurt. But the thing is, relationships require connection, intimacy, a willingness to let someone in. Chapter 5. Emotional unavailability. Here's the deal with emotional unavailability. It's like trying to have a heart-to-heart with a robot. You pour your heart out, share your deepest fears and insecurities, and they just sit there, stone-faced, like they're watching paint dry. And it's not that they don't care. It's that they don't know how to handle big, messy emotions. They're uncomfortable with vulnerability, both their own and yours. So when the going gets tough, they check out emotionally. They might withdraw, become distant, or even disappear for a while. They might change the subject, crack a joke, or offer a logical solution to an emotional problem. They're masters of deflection, of avoiding any conversation that delves too deep into the realm of feelings. And this can be incredibly frustrating for the other person in the relationship. It's like they're holding up a mirror, reflecting back all the love and affection you're giving, but there's no one on the other side. It's just an empty reflection. Chapter 6. Inconsistency. Let's talk about inconsistency. This is a tough one, folks, because it can leave you feeling like you're on an emotional roller coaster. One minute everything's great, they're attentive, affectionate and engaged. You feel loved, cherished, like you're on top of the world. But then just as quickly the tide turns, they pull back, become distant, and you're left wondering what you did wrong. It's like they're two different people and you never know who's going to show up. This inconsistency stems from their internal struggle with vulnerability and intimacy. When they feel themselves getting too close, too comfortable, their avoidant tendencies kick in, and they pull back to regain a sense of control. It's a defense mechanism, a way to protect themselves from the perceived threat of intimacy. But for the other person in the relationship, it can be incredibly confusing and hurtful. It's like they're constantly moving the goalposts and you're left chasing after them, trying to figure out the rules of the game. Chapter 7. Defensiveness. Last but not least, let's talk about defensiveness. This is a classic avoidant attachment trait, and it can be a real relationship killer. You see, folks with this attachment style, they have a hard time handling criticism. Even the slightest hint of disapproval can send them into a tailspin. It's like their nervous system is wired to perceive any form of feedback as a personal attack. And their first line of defense? You guessed it, defensiveness. They might get angry, argumentative, or shut down completely. They might blame you, make excuses, or deflect the conversation onto something else entirely. It's like they're wearing a suit of armor, and any attempt to penetrate that armor is met with fierce resistance. Now, here's the thing. Their defensiveness isn't about you, it's about them. It's about their deep-seated fear of vulnerability, their terror of being seen as flawed or unworthy. They've built up these walls to protect themselves, and any attempt to chip away at those walls is met with fierce resistance. Outro: navigating avoidant attachment. Look, understanding these traits can help you navigate a relationship with an avoidant partner more effectively. It's about recognizing the patterns, understanding the why behind the behavior. But remember, folks, this is not about making excuses for bad behavior. It's about compassion, about understanding that these behaviors are often rooted in deep-seated fears and past experiences. It's about meeting them where they are, but also setting healthy boundaries for yourself. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more insights into relationship dynamics. Thanks for watching.